Hello, so we are at another property shoot. This is my third property shoot this year, and it's again for Next Move Residential. Yeah, so we're in a 2-bedroom flat in Hornchurch, northeast London-ish, and yeah, just straight off the A127, so it took me no time at all to get there. Here. And yeah, it's interesting. I really enjoy the property shoots. So just to start with as well, sorry for the bad lighting. I'm in a house. I don't have a full lighting crew with me. So yeah, the thing is, the way that I like to try and get into these property shoots is I'll set up, I normally like to work through the property. So I'll start at the front entrance, work my way through the property itself. This one's quite an interesting shape. So with it being a flat as well, it's got this different kind of entrance way here. So it used to be a house from the looks of it, and it's been converted many years ago, I'm guessing, into this area. So yeah, as you come in, you've got this walkway from the front door, and then we go straight into the bedroom on the right here. So and then it splits into this kind of like, not L shape, but like a J, I suppose. Suitable, considering it's me. And yeah, so this is going to be interesting for some angles for the way I'm going to shoot this, and just to try and make sure that it's lit properly. And I like to use some people, well, many people use different techniques for shooting properties. Some people prefer the HDR look, where you kind of set, you know, between 3 and 7 shots in a room, hit the camera, bang, 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 then they go away and they edit those and they merge those together. I like to use the flambient technique, which is, it's using a flash and ambient light. So I'll get a good ambient exposure of the room, and then I'll use my flash to kind of fill in the gaps. Yeah, so what I might do today is try a different technique where I take some HDR pictures first. So I've got those in the bag if I need to edit those, and then I might do the flambient pictures later. So it's a lot of pictures to have and to go through at the end of it. And I do all my own editing. I know lots of property photographers, if they're watching this video, they're probably like, why do you do your own editing? Send it off, get someone else to do it. I enjoy the editing process. Weirdly, for me, it's good practice to be able to do it, because I think if you can do it yourself, then brilliant. And then if you send it off, you kind of know what to look for. And also you learn from things, I think, more when you're editing it as well. I've learned a few things that I've been doing right or wrong in the past. So to do this and do the editing process as well really helps me. So I might try a new thing today where I do the HDR, and then I'll do the flambient images as well. This room is going to be interesting. This is the front, or the bedroom on the front of the house. It looks to me as though the sun's going to be coming in soon, so it might be challenging for lighting this. Blinds are always interesting as well, especially when you're editing, because you've got these straight lines. So I could pull the blinds up, but I think it looks good when you've got the blinds there, because then whoever's buying this or coming in to rent this property, this is a sale for this property, I think, they know that these features are already in there. So normally what I like to do is go in, open the blinds, like I'm going to do with this one, and then we've got some light coming in. We can see that it's, we can kind of get an idea for what's outside the property as well. And then we can, then the people that might be looking at this on the letting agent's website, they can kind of make their mind up. So I'll also go around and do things like I've done with the curtains here. So the curtains were they were all closed when I came in, but we've got the hooks here and we've got this. So this kind of frames the doorway a bit better, I think. And then yeah, the kitchen, there is a coffee machine in here already. No coffee, sadly. Actually, there is some coffee, but I won't help myself. So yeah, let's get to it. I'm waffling on now, and I'm going to start taking some pictures. And I think what we'll do is we'll start with, I'm going to break my rule, and I think I'm going to start with this small room here instead of the front entrance, because this small room here, straight in, off to the right of the front entrance. I think the front entrance in this hallway is going to be interesting to light, because as I said, if I show you, we've got this J shape, where you've got everything, these funny angles and everything like that. So that should be quite interesting to light, but it's all part of the challenge. And yeah, good challenge for lighting and good challenge for the editing process. So yeah, here we go. So the interesting part for this bit, you can see here, we've got the bright light coming in here. We've got a kind of blue lights. We've got all of these different lights that are going on. So it'll be interesting to try and white balance it. Luckily, this room is white. So to white balance that will be relatively easy, but then it's trying to match all of the other rooms to make sure that they're all the same sort of color. I generally try and find a base, so to set all my gear up. The hallway is quite tight, so not that it's bad that it's tight, but it's just there's not enough room for me to set my gear up. So Sony A7IV, And I have the Sigma 16-28 on this. It's the 2.8 lens. Normally what I'll do is I'll set this up on the tripod, go through it, give it a good dust off before I start shooting. I have one of these, I've had one of these for years, since I had my Fuji's many years ago. It's just like a little pen thing, and it's got the brush. Many people would have seen this. Little brush, and then there's kind of a cleaning side to it as well that you can unclip and stick on there as well. And I normally keep this pouch in my camera bag all the time. I've got a couple of these pen things. They're just handy things to have if you're in a pinch. I've got a very cheap kind of keyboard dust blower. I don't carry one of those massive rocket things around. I do have one, but I don't carry it around with me because it takes up too much room. Just going to set the camera up now and get this room shot. Flash trigger is the Godox X3, nice and small. The only thing is, I wish you could tilt the screen on it, because where it's there, you kind of have to look up into it, which is fine, but if you've got a particularly wobbly floor, you've got to be careful. And the Godox AD200 Pro 2, and these two sync together, and then I'll use that as my flash. So what I'm going to do now is try and find a good ambient exposure for the room. So I've got that in the bag if I need that. And I use the level on the camera as well, the digital level. I don't have any bubble levels anywhere, which is probably a silly thing, but it's just one less thing to try and remember to bring. And yeah, see how we get on with this. Just try and find that ambient look. Normally what I do is I use the expose to the right rule and then do it that way. So however that needs to be done, so whether that's reducing I don't generally tend to like to go over ISO 800, purely because it's easier than, I know you can denoise stuff, but it's just a bit easier to try and sort out in post. So for this one, it looks like we're going to be at f5 at the 30th of a second. And with the property shoots as well, I always set it with a 2-second timer. Then there's no kind of wobble or anything from the cameras, from the tripod, if that happens. So just gonna test the flash, make sure that's all working, because there'll be nothing worse than that not syncing up when it comes to do it. So the good thing about this Godox X3 trigger is that you can actually switch off different groups on here. So before it was the case, I was using a manual trigger, and yeah, that manual trigger was quite interesting because I had to physically switch a button off and on, just so it didn't go, just so it didn't flash while I was carrying out the work, if I didn't want the flash to go off. So the good thing is you can hit pause on the Godox X3 trigger, and it's very easy to set up. It took me like 5 minutes to work out how to connect it with this. It also works with, I've got some newer, however you pronounce it, flashes as well. It's the small speed light that I brought with me today to try and do some extra with the flambient. And the good thing with the Godox X3 is it actually connects to the newer trigger, so newer speed light. So you can actually use that as well, which is brilliant, I think. So yeah, we've got the ambient temperature, got the ambient shot for this room. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do one for the basic room exposure, and then I'm going to do one for the window as well, just to make sure that that's exposed nicely. So we can hit go, and there we go. It gives a 2-second timer, because you'll notice that with this floor, there's carpet and then there's wooden floor in the hallway as well. So as soon as I hit the trigger, the camera did wobble a little bit. If I'm here and I'm kind of rocking a little bit, that doesn't look quite straight, so I'm going to angle that up. So even though this is straight on the camera, the room looks wonky. So I'm just gonna make sure that my wall lines are straight, get an extra shot here like that. And then the key thing is to try and keep the camera in the same position the whole way through. So now I've lined it up like that with the wall. It's going to be a case of trying to find the middle ground, because there is a slight bit of barrel distortion there with the lens. Now I've lined it up with the wall. It's going to be a case of keeping the camera in exactly the same spot for all of the pictures, because what will happen is with the flambient pictures, what will happen is if it's out of line slightly, then it becomes a bit more of a pain to actually to try and work with in post-production. So I'm going to do 7 images at 2 EV exposure, so continuous bracket, and we'll see how we get on with that. So one thing that I have noticed with this camera is if the flash is plugged in, then it doesn't actually work with the bracketed shots. So yeah, we should be able to get our bracketed shots now, and then we'll have a mixture of our ambient. There'll be several ambient, so when it comes to putting all of the different images together, I'll be able to find the best ambient shot. And it's cheating slightly, but it's whatever makes the process quicker in the editing. So yeah, if we've had our ambient, and if we just take our bracketed shots now, these are, so I've decided to change it slightly, and I'm going to go for it's 7 images, and they are 1 EV apart, I believe. Yeah, so 1 EV apart. I might go down to 5 actually, because 7 might be a bit too high. So let's just try that at 5, and we just let the camera do its thing. That looks like it's going to be more than enough for the images that we need to work with. There's a relatively decent ambient shot of outside as well, so that should be fine. It's quite deceiving because there's a white wall outside, so yeah, we shall see how that comes out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and go past, not knock the camera, and then I'll do some of the the flambient shots even, and take that out of bracketing mode, put it on a 2-second timer, turn the flash back on, make sure it's all connected again. So yeah, again, property shooting, something that I've learned today, that if you have it on and it doesn't work, if you have the Godox trigger on, it doesn't actually work with that. Maybe that's something I'm doing wrong. Again, still new to this trigger, so it probably is something that I've done. Test the flash. Yeah, that works nicely. And so yeah, I'm just going to hold it above the camera, and what I'll do is I'll just take a single shot that'll have a 2-second timer, hold that above the camera, and then just blast the room basically. Cool. So again, that's quite, I'm going to turn the light off for this one. Pause this for a second. I'm going to take another ambient with the light off in the room, see how that goes, because that light's quite bright. So let's dull this down a bit. So I'm just going to do a dark one just so that we can get the exposure for the window. It looks quite bright in here because this camera is compensating for all of the light, but yeah, it's not as bright in there now. So yeah, we'll try and get ourselves some a nice room there. So you can see the good thing with this flash is that it tells you when everything's off, when I've paused it on the trigger. So if I was to have this on a stand somewhere else, for example, I do have a stand with me just in case I need to flash out some other rooms. But the good thing with it is that I can, it will tell me when it's off. And now because I've unpaused it on the trigger, then it's now showing again. So this, for many people, probably won't be of any interest at all, and you're probably going to sit there and think, why are you boring us with this? But we shall see. So let's have a look at what this comes out like. So we've found, let's find the ambient temperature. I like to use the histogram on this as well, just to find a good ambient spot, exposed to the right for one. And okay, so let's try and get some flambient shots with this one. I've taken a bit longer because I'm doing this thing to camera. Normally I would have been out of here and done this by now. So I'll adjust the flash, then I'm going to reduce the ISO. The good thing is, all I'll do is I'll just take some pictures, blast different areas of the room, and hopefully when we get that into Lightroom to edit, then we can try and eliminate some of these shadows. So I'll just put it around different areas, different angles, and just blast away and just get lots of different images just to try and, like I said, eliminate some of those shadows and blend those in when I need to. I've got the HDR images as well, those 5 shots. I've set that up as setting 1 on my camera. So all I do is I flick it to setting 1, do the HDR, flick it back to manual, and then I can adjust all of the different settings there. So let's just have a look, see what we're doing. And I'm just going to take one more for good luck, straight into the room. I'm only going to stick with this angle, so it's not going to be too much of a problem with the editing. Just want to try and get rid of some of the different shadows that you can see in there. Okay, so hopefully that's good enough for that one. And now I think I'm going to move on to, this room's getting quite bright, so I might move on to the bathroom now, which is just next door. So let's see how we get on with that. So yeah, we're on a different surface here as well. So we're now going from wooden floor to tile. So just have to make sure that the camera is in a good position, make sure it's all level. As you can see here in this, because it's quite a wide angle camera, for the bathroom here, we've got the first bedroom that we were just in, and then we've got the living room through there. So just gonna set up the camera again, make sure it's straight, all the walls are lined up, and it's all looking good. There is a bit of lens flare on there, so I'm probably going to have to, yeah, I'm gonna have to close that blind, unfortunately. That might move, but it's probably gonna be, might have to wait a while for that. So actually, I think what we'll do now is we'll move to the living room instead, and then we'll come back to the bathroom just to see if that sunlight goes over a bit. hopefully it won't take too long to do it. If it doesn't move within the time, then I'll just work around it. But for now, I think I'm going to go to the living room and maybe actually, I think I'm going to start to go to the kitchen, which is a bit further through here. And if we work on this side of the house, because it's not too bright on this side, so which isn't too bad, but we can work around that again with the HDR images and the flambient technique with the flash. We can get that nice and lit. So yeah, whether to leave the coffee machine in place or not, there is the question. So we shall have a look. So I'm just going to go and set up the tripod now and try and get the images for this room. So we're on full tile over here. So relatively flat, as flat as you can be in houses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a picture from the door here looking in, and then move around. So things like kitchens, master bedrooms, living rooms, things like that. You want to try and get a couple of angles, and then you can deliver those to the client afterwards, so that they've got a couple of angles of each, so that when people are looking on the website, they can see what's what. Things like there's a space here for a dishwasher or a washing machine, so there's quite a big load of space. I would say it's more for a dishwasher because there's plumbing under there as well. So, but there's enough space here for fridge, freezer and stuff like that. So fridge, freezer, washing machine, dishwasher, tumble dryer if you're feeling fancy and you like those crisp towels. But yeah, we shall see. So I'm actually using the Insta360 X5. It'll be interesting to see what the sounds like without my lav mic. Stupidly, I didn't test it and set it up properly when I was on my way here or just outside. So hopefully the sound's okay. I might be able to fix some of it in post. We're just going to switch off the flash just so that we're not having any interference with the HDR. And we're going to move back to the door as well. So, all right, so we can then frame this one up. We can come back in here. And what we've got here is we've got this wall and we've got all of the kitchen, so it actually gives you that nice curve around as well. So hopefully that will be a good enough shot for the HDR. Right, little mistake there. There were some things on the blinds that I wasn't too happy with, so I'm going to wait for the blinds to calm down because they are currently swinging like a nut job, and with the settings on the camera, it might actually pick that up, and then it would be a nightmare to blend later on. So just going to give that a second there. Just going to come back to the doors in frame. I like to have some of the door in frame for my images as well. Some people might be different. Some people might like to completely eliminate the door, but everyone's different when it comes to these types of things. And some people might say, oh, you're not doing it right. But again, it's a process that I'm learning from. So we shall see. But yeah, I'm going to hit those HDR images. 1.5, 5 images apart. Should be more than enough on there to get a decent ambient image from that for the HDR images. Kitchen light does work, so we'll have an image with that on. Cool, so a slightly bigger room. Going to increase the power for this one. Sometimes what I'll do is, because there's some kitchen cupboards up there as well, just to try and make sure it's evenly lit everywhere, I'll take my small speed light and I'll stick that on. So we might do that in a second just to get that shot. But here we go. I'm just going to blast the room, see how it goes. But one of the great things with this is it's on a timer. If I'm in the room, all I'll do is I'll be editing myself out afterwards, so that's all good as well. So I just hit that on the timer, point the flash into the room, and then just get a couple more images. And the thing is with this as well, I can knock the screen around, or just check what's going on. Let's just do one more of those. That looks like it's going to be pretty decent. I'm just going to do one here as well, bounce off. And then I'm going to do one blast. Just bounce off of this. Half power. Bounce off this back wall. And that gives quite a nice look actually, gives quite a nice shot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a second angle. So I might even do a third angle for this room because it's quite big. We're going to be quite tight into the corner. Looking on the screen here. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually set this up into the corner and try and hide back as much as possible. I'm actually going to change this to 2 EV and then 7 images now, just so that I can ensure that every corner is lit. There we go. So that's absolutely blasted the room. I've got enough ambient there to fix if I don't want to do the flambient technique. But again, I like to use the flambient technique because I can use the mask, I can mask in the layers. I can probably do it with the HDR, but today is, as I said earlier, a bit of a test, see how I get on. So yeah, that should be it for this room, hopefully. Might retake some of the shots just without this tea towel in, didn't spot that, so again, didn't check thoroughly enough. Thing to remember. So I think we have enough of the kitchen now. Let's move on to the living room. Probably have to edit out that image that's just above the fireplace. So living room's a nice space actually. You've got this small outside area here that leads onto a garden, I think, so I'll have to make sure I get some shots of that. But yeah, as I can see and as predicted, the light is coming in quite fiercely into the bathroom now, so should have maybe started that a bit earlier and done that one first, but there you go. So first of all, we'll start with a shot of the living room looking in from the hallway. Just think that's going to be your kind of first impressions of when you walk in. That's what you're going to see when you land into the property. So there is the kitchen. So for lighting with the flambient, I'm going to have to set up another stand in there, which is fine. It's only going to have my speed light on, so it doesn't necessarily, it's handy, stick to my jumper. And what that will do, to give some context, is it will add the flash into the other room. And what it'll do is it will light that, make sure it's all evenly lit. And the good thing, as I mentioned earlier, with this flash, although it's a newer one, however you pronounce it, I can control it from the Godox trigger, which is super helpful because then I don't have to keep going backwards and forwards into the room. I don't have to keep adjusting stuff. So I'm just going to test that one. Make sure that's working. Helps if I turn it on. There we go, that's working, perfect. Two things at once, not my forte. So yeah, all I've done is I've set this one up in here in the kitchen. As you can see, I've got the light held straight up at the ceiling. I'm probably going to raise this stand actually and put this stand right the way up, maybe halfway-ish. There might do, and angle it just straight up. Probably my head height. And then I can adjust the settings on the Godox trigger, the X3 trigger, which is good. I'm just going to make sure that this isn't going to be in any of my shots, because otherwise that would be a pain in the backside. But it's going to be mainly for the flambient one, so it doesn't really matter for all the other ones. And we should see how that goes. That's images there. Good, nice shot. So try and get the room in its entirety if I can, or as much as I can. It's quite difficult with this room because it goes off quite wide, and I'm on 16mm, so I'd rather focus on making sure that the entirety of the living room is captured, just to show how big the space is. We're actually going to shut this door because there is a light coming from the bathroom that's actually shining through into the living room. Here we go. Right, we can do the HDR images now. Let's turn the light off for this one, and let's see what we get. Now we've got the HDR images on here, I can now turn the flash on. And again, the great thing about this X3 is quite cheap. I'm not endorsed by Godox by in any way, shape or form. Wouldn't complain if I was, or if I got a bit of money off of my flashes. But the good thing with this X3 trigger is it's tiny. It's not the Pro, but the good thing with it is that it's tiny, fits in the case for the AD200 Pro 2, and I can trigger both flashes now. But all I'm doing here is I'm just tapping on the screen, same as you would any kind of phone or anything like that, selecting each individual group. So group A is this one, the AD200 Pro, group B is the newer one in the kitchen. And all I do here is I'm just going to check the kitchen exposure is nice actually. That's not too bad actually. Now you may also be wondering why I'm stood in the shot as well, how that works. You may not be wondering that either as well, but I'm going to tell you anyway. What I'll do is I'll use the flash, and then what I'll do is I'll mask out that area. So if I'm stood on this side of the room, then I will use the flash from that side of the room, and then when I switch, I can then mask them around and make it look good, hopefully. So yeah, I'm going to give myself, actually I'm going to increase the timer a bit, I think. Okay, so 5 seconds just gives me enough time to get into place there and fire off some shots. And what this is doing is it's just going to give me lighting in different areas of the room that I can use for either side. Again, try and hold it as close to the ceiling as possible. I'm going to fire one at the chimney there. So that should eliminate some of those shadows. Do one this side. I think I've got enough there, to be honest, which is good. So let's move to a different angle. So the angle of the living room from here is quite dull. It's quite plain. You can see the radiator on the wall behind, which is okay, but it's that fireplace area that's quite key to get in shot. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go from the kitchen, and I'm going to set it up from here. You get kind of this angle, so it should be a bit better that way. Hopefully, he says. So we've got some nice light coming from the hallway. But as you can see, it's slightly uneven because you've got the room here, which is super bright. I can't really close the blinds anymore, and then you've got a dark patch. So in that dark patch, I'm going to put the other flash. So what I've done with the other flash is I've stuck that up quite high. As you can see, you can't see it. You can see how bright that is out there, actually. You can see how bright that is out there, which is the benefit of this Godox trigger as well. I can actually fire off the flash. I'm actually going to dim that down a bit. And I'm going to lower the stand because in the image on the camera, it's lighting up. It's not really lighting the hallway evenly. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this stand down. Here we are back at the camera. Just take a test. That looks to be more evenly lit. The other thing I could do is close the door to the bedroom, or the other thing I could do is open this door and let some light in from here, because that's quite bright. That looks nice, but the problem that we've got now is, if we have a look, we can see that there's this massive stream of light here, and that can make it quite difficult for when you're doing any editing. So I think I'm just going to stick with the flash, keep that door shut, and then we're going to work through the HDR images and all that sort of stuff. So HDR images, nice, and then we can just work our way through with the flash shots. So yeah, what we're going to do now is we're going to swing the camera screen round so I can see the room, and then I'm just going to work through 5-second timer and just keep blasting through the room and just check that that's all right. Yeah, so what it's doing is you'll be able to see on the ceiling here, we've got some lights, some shadows, and some light from the fixture. And what it's doing is casting like really weird shadows. And what this is doing is it's actually getting rid of a lot of those shadows, which is really good. And the key is light painting, basically. So if you're familiar with light painting and what that process is, this is basically it. So you're walking around the room, pointing at different objects, and trying to fill in the gaps with lights, basically. Cool, so that should be enough flash shots for that area. Now let's move on to the main bedroom, I think, and then we'll start. Once the main bedroom's done, we'll go into the hallway. Hallway's going to be a bit tricky, I think, because of the angles to try and light that, but you never know. It might actually be one of the easier ones to do. So yeah, as you can see, the second flash was in here in the hallway, just to try and get everything lit in that area. So just open the bathroom door. I think what we're going to have to do with the bathroom is, well, what I'll do is I'll do the bedroom, I think, move all my stuff out of the bedroom, take pictures in here, and then hopefully in that time the sun may have gone a little bit. If not, then I'm going to have to close the blinds, but it doesn't matter. So time's getting on now. I'm taking a lot longer because I'm doing this video stuff and talking. So, but yeah, I will start cracking on with this bedroom and hopefully get some decent shots of that. So again, got a tiny bit of the door in here, and we've got some of this wall. So this is the master bedroom, so we're going to get a couple of angles of this room. And so it doesn't necessarily matter, but we want to try and give the impression, or we need to let the viewer see, that there is a wall going down this way and there is a door going down this way. Obviously just try and make them straight as I can, but that's better. So even just pulling the camera out into the hallway a bit more, I've got more of that room and I've got the door there as well, which is great. Cool, right. Let's go inside and change angles. Yeah, so we're looking at it from this angle now. So hopefully we can get some images that way, and then yeah, we'll see how we get on with that. The good thing with the flambient technique as well is that I could take this picture now, light up all of the hallway, and then move the flash as well. So the speed light that's out here has done a good enough exposure of this area. So what I can now do is I can move it down to here just to give another angle of the exposed area. And then I can move it into that small bedroom to give another angle of that exposed area, and then try and get a nice even exposure across the board. So sorry about the exposure on here as well, actually. Cool. And then we're just going to stick in that far bedroom. And then what I can do is I can just stitch this together in Lightroom just to try and give it a nice even look, because this room's nice and bright in here, so it's actually going to bounce that light around quite a lot. So yeah, we shall see. Yes, that's good. So now I'm just going to do some shots around this side of the room, just take some different angles. Just go on different areas. Again, doesn't matter that this is all in shot, because I'll mask it out. I think that's this room done. Let's do one more from here, actually. Let's crank it up. There we go, that should do it. Again, you're here, you might as well take it. So my plan has started to work. The light has now gone down in the bathroom, so that window's not going to be completely blown out, which is cool. So what we've got left to do now is the bathroom, the hallway. So I'll probably do 2 shots of the hallway because it's this interesting angle here. I mean, I probably could get a shot from in here, to be fair, from inside the living room through to the hallway that gets most of that. So I might just do that. Don't really need 2 shots. We'll see how it comes out, and then we can work our way through that. But yeah, as I said, the light has now gone down here, so I might do the hallway first and then work on the bathroom, because then that will give me a little bit more time to let that calm down. And then we can, once that light's calmed down a bit, we should all be good. One of the key things as well is if you're doing a property shoot and you're not with anyone else, try and keep all your stuff together. So if like the estate agent's not here or the owner's not here, just because when it comes to leaving, you want to make sure that you've got everything with you so that you don't forget anything when you go home. Would rather not have to try and drive back here if I don't have to. So again, let the camera do its thing, try and get those nice even levels so that we've got a decent base to start from. Again, it's going to be a lot of images, but the thing is in Lightroom, I can group those together, so it's not going to be too much of a difficulty when trying to sort through all of those. The difficulty is now going to be making sure that I keep this this exact framing for when I take the images for the next shot. So we're now going to put it back into manual mode. And this, again, this is just the way that I do it. Not every photographer will do it this way. Lots of photographers will work in different ways and have their own different things. No one, I'm not saying that anyone is right, anyone is wrong, but it's just, this is just the way that I'm working today. Like I said, it's an experiment just to try and see how I can get on with this kind of shooting, see if the HDR images and flambient images are a good way forward, just so I'm covering all bases and I've got enough material to work with, or whether it's a case of I could just work with the HDR going forward, make it a quicker process, go through the place, go through the properties, and just try and get that work done. So it depends. I'm not sure what's going to be the best fit for this, but we can see. Now onto the bathroom. So we finally come back round to the bathroom, which is cool. The light has gone down considerably through that window, so that's going to make it a lot easier to expose for, which is good. So it's not open. So that's as far as the toilet, the bathroom door opens. So let's try and go in a bit more here. Issue is now we've gone in a bit further into the bathroom, into the door, and then I'm actually going to lower this down and change the angle of the camera here, because the difficulty is I've got this door, but I need to try and fit everything in. So let's see how we get on with that. Yeah, I think that's going to be the best angle. I will try some different angles with this one, but it's quite low looking into the bathroom. But probably go a bit higher, but I like to get the whole of like the toilet in to make sure you can see everything. I'll try a couple of different angles from this one anyway, and we shall see. So now we're going to move into the bathroom and just try and get a couple of other angles. So usually I'll deliver 1 or 2 angles of a bathroom. We've got different areas that we want to highlight. So we've got this shower, particularly the shower head, that's quite a nice feature. So we'll try and get that in the shot. So just make sure that that's straight. Again, this is where the digital guide's coming really handy, because I'm here. To me, I would be all over the place if I was trying to make that look not wonky. You can fix it to a degree in post, in Lightroom and stuff like that. But the problem is, if you try and fix it in post, what happens is sometimes it crops in, and if it crops in, then you're losing some of the image. So where you framed it, it might not look as good as it could. Like here, I can see there. So even though that says it's finding like a nice middle ground. Cool. So we've got from underexposed to absolutely nuclear on the HDR shots. I don't like it to look too HDR in the images because it's not quite right. Like if I'm looking at this window, it's completely blown out. I'm not seeing the outside perfectly. It will be still slightly too bright. So I do bring it down a bit in post, but I don't make it so that it looks like it's the way that they normally look in HDR images. So I don't have much of the ceiling in these images, which is fine. I mean, you know what a ceiling looks like. Purely because as well, it's not, like I said, it's not a tiny bathroom by any stretch of the imagination. It's bigger than my bathroom. But it's trying to make sure that I'm getting all of the features in, like the bath, the shower screen, the sink, things like that. So yeah, I think I'm done inside. Wow, okay. So now all I need to do, I won't film outside, purely because there's people here and it's people's houses. So if I'm filming at their house, it might be a bit weird for them. Some weirdo, it's gonna be bad enough that I'm gonna be stood there with a camera. So all I'll do now, so just to go through my process of outside, that's just HDR. I don't bother with anything else, obviously. So I'll do 7 images outside and try and just make it look as nice as possible for the client. But yeah, I think we're done here. I think that's everything. Yeah, so 2 angles of the kitchen, which is important, I think. Couple of angles of the living room, which is nice. And then we've got 2 angles of the master bedroom, which is normally what I try to do. 2 angles of the bathroom. Second bedroom just gets the 1 image. Hallway we've got a few images of. Normally it'd be a lot quicker than this for me to get through this kind of process. But because I thought I'd try and film some of this and bring some of you along for the ride and see how we get on. Again, this is something that I do as part of all of my photography, so it's not my sole photography role. But yeah, it would be good to find out what you guys think, if there's anything you would recommend for my process that I should change. I do have a drone, but I haven't started doing any drone photography with that as part of property photography yet. But that's maybe something that if the client requests it, I can do that in the future. But yeah, it would be great to hear your feedback and hear what you think. Apologies if the sound isn't that great. I will work on that and get that better for future videos. If you do like it, then check out my Instagram pages, follow me on there and give me a like and subscribe here. Back home now after the shoot at the property in Hornchurch, and I had a great time over there. And thank you to Next Move Residential for trusting me to do that for them. Looking back through the images and having a quick edit, I would definitely say that I'm going to stick with that process. So I know it was a bit of a trial and error thing today, and lots of people are probably thinking, oh, just stick with this, do this process, do that process. But at the end of the day, I think you find your own processes and you find your own ways of working that work for you. And whether that turns out to be slower or quicker, it's all a learning process. So I'll definitely be trying out these different ways of working going forward. I think I'll stick with the process of taking the bracketed shots and also mixing in the flash shots as well. So similar to the flambient technique, but maybe using more of the HDR bracketed shots. Maybe cut that down to 3 or 5 shots of the room as well, because I think with 7 shots, I had a ton of pictures, and after going through and having a quick cull of some of the images, I've noticed that I've ended up binning a lot of like the super underexposed and super overexposed images from the bracketed shot. So I think I'll just stick to 5. Most people probably would know that that's the right thing to do, but again, it's a learning process for me. The client that I worked with today, they like the images that I'm producing for their properties. It's helped them sell properties in the past, they've told me, so it's something that I'll definitely, you know, I must be doing something right, but it's just trying to find a better way of working for me going forward. So I think that I will definitely stick to the process that I did today. It takes a tiny bit more time. It's not even much more time than I was taking before with just doing the flambient technique. So I think I'll definitely stick to that. And the flash actually just helps bring up some of the darker areas. So in the living room, there's a fireplace. So having the flash there, that actually helped bring up that scene as well. So I can just mask that in Photoshop and make that a nice, clean looking area. And it also highlights some of the areas that you might not necessarily see from, say, like an iPhone or from an HDR image. So you can just see a bit more detail, I think, with the flash incorporated into it as well. So I'll stick with that going forward, definitely. Things I've learned from today are just to double check the room before taking the images, because the kitchen, as I mentioned, had that tea towel on the oven, and I didn't notice it on first inspection. All I noticed was the keys on the windowsill and things like that I removed. I actually hid them in the sink for the time being, and then put them back where they were, obviously after I'd finished. But after shooting the 2 angles of the kitchen, then noticing that tea towel after shooting the second lot of images, it was quite frustrating for me, but it's one of those things that going forward, it will just be a case of double check, make sure things like that aren't in there. The only reason I removed the tea towel was because it was quite an old tea towel, and I think it didn't look great in the shot. So better to remove it, retake the images, and then have a better final product. And I can just bin the other images that I took that had the tea towel in the first place. I do wish that I'd removed the coffee machine from the side as well in the kitchen, but it's one of those things going forward. You know, if the client says, can you please remove this? I can always just Photoshop that out and try and get a decent image. It was a plain wall behind, so it won't be difficult to get rid of that from the scene. But I think going forward, I will remove things like that, unless they're ridiculously heavy appliances like fridge freezers and things like that, like I've had in property shoots I've done before. But yeah, I'll remove that going forward, I think, just to try and keep a clean space and nice tidy area. But yeah, it's definitely worth taking that extra time, I think, that with the extra flash in the shots as well. So what am I going to do going forward with these videos? I really enjoyed doing this again. I used to do it for my music setup before, and I used to record vlogs going to gigs and with the other band members and stuff like that. Now it's only me. I want to use this as a way to kind of document my experience and show, you know, my progression for me, so I can look back and go, God, weren't they terrible, or wasn't that great? Oh, I liked that idea. As a reference, you know, just for me, and also hopefully my mistakes will help some other people that are out there, you know, learning and getting into this process as well. I want a process that's going to be quite quick to set up. I want to get to the venue, I want to get to the property or wherever I'm shooting and have something that's quite quick that I can kind of throw up, and then I can just record it. So I was using this Insta360 X5 on the shoot, and I set this up on a separate tripod, and I just walked around and just spoke into this. So the audio won't be as good as this audio, because this is, you know, I've set this up, I've lit the room, I've done everything, you know, that I wanted to make this look what I think is decent, but you can let me know in the comments. So yeah, going forward, I think I'll use the DJI Mic Mini with this, and hopefully that will give a good enough result. I did like the update that Insta360 have added onto the X5 as well. So I used the tracking shot, so it uses subject tracking. Tapped my image on the screen, and then it just followed me around the room, and it was as if a gimbal was in the room. It's actually really good. The only thing I did notice was there are some slight stitching issues. So if I walk to the side of this camera, then you could kind of see where the join was. But I don't know whether that's because I use the lens guards that come with it. These extra added lens guards that you can add onto the front to protect the lenses. I might take those off. It's only going to be indoors, so it's not necessarily going to be the end of the world if it's on a tripod. I doubt I'll be kind of throwing it around and knocking it into things, but I don't know whether that had an effect on the stitching there or what. But
maybe that might come up in a better, different firmware update down the line. But yeah, really enjoyed that and thought that was really good as well, particularly as I could just set that up in the middle of the room, out of shot, and then I can walk around it and it actually tracks me left and right as well, so that's good. I'm not sure how regular these videos are going to be. They will be as regular as I can afford to do, really. I still work a full-time job while I'm trying to do the photography and video business, so it's, again, having something that's nice, easy, quick to set up, and then maybe do like these sessions afterwards when I've got some time to kind of give a roundup. It won't necessarily be the same day, but I'll be able to do a roundup, and then maybe do some other things of my experience of like what gear I've bought, what gear, you know, I kind of enjoy using, and what I found helpful. Yeah, maybe just do some things like that, see how I get on. I can speak from my own experience and try and get this going without having a massive budget, and talk from the early stages of people that are also looking to do this as well. So maybe that might interest some people, maybe it won't. We can try, we can see how we get on, and if it works, fantastic. If not, then just try something else, I suppose. I'll try and get these done as much as possible and as regularly as possible. It's been a while since I've been in front of a camera talking like this, so I'm probably a bit all over the place, and there's probably a million ers in this, and so we shall see how we get on with that. But there we go. Hopefully I'll be able to get a nice smooth flow for future videos, not have to rely on notes and things like that so often, but hopefully you haven't noticed that too much. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do consider subscribing to this channel and giving it a like if you do enjoy the video. And if not, please let me know from your own experience, if you are a property photographer or architectural photographer, where you think I've gone wrong, where you think I can improve. I'm all up for constructive criticism. Thank you very much for watching this, and I hope to see you on the next video.